Alright, so now the fun begins, how we can develop those images with Adobe Camera Raw. But before we will go into the panel, I want to show you all those different possibilities that you have, how you can access Adobe Camera Raw. And the first one would be if you're shooting with Camera Raw images, and if you're not sure if your image is a Camera Raw image, then you can either look here at the ending. The ACR2 is my indication that this image is a Camera Raw image, or if you're not sure what that means, you can always look into your file properties, into your document type, and here you also see that this image is indeed a Camera Raw image. And like I said, if you have one of those images, with a double click you now will access Adobe Camera Raw. Easy as that, just a double click. However, if you have now images that are JPEGs, as you can see here, now if you would double click onto this image, that would be now opened up in Adobe Photoshop. And that kind of makes sense, because with Camera Raw images, you're like, okay, I want to do a first basic development maybe in Adobe Camera Raw, and then I bring it into Photoshop, and from here I save it as a JPEG. And if you want to do further development, then you would just open them up into Photoshop. So that makes sense as a default option. However, there are some functions in Adobe Camera Raw, like if you want to give a vignette to your image, that are so much easier to do in Adobe Camera Raw than they are in Photoshop. Therefore, a lot of people were like, oh, it would be so awesome if we could bring our images back into Adobe Camera Raw, although they are now opened in Photoshop. And luckily, I think in CS6, finally Adobe Photoshop listened to us and said, okay, let's bring in this functionality that you can bring now these images back into Adobe Camera Raw. And they gave us a filter. So if you go into your filter drop-down menu, you will find here now the Camera Raw filter, or you can also press the shortcut Shift, Command or Control and A. And then this image will be opened up once more in Adobe Camera Raw. And everything looks pretty much the same, all your panels. I think the only thing that's a little bit different is that you don't find the crop here. Maybe because now Adobe thinks, okay, this is a filter. Why would they need to crop this now in Adobe Camera Raw when they can crop it in Photoshop? Maybe that's why, I'm not sure. But everything else is the same. As I said, you can go from here now into these FX effects, and here you will find your post-crop vignetting, and that's something you can't do so easy in Photoshop. So if you just wanted a quick vignette, then you can just open up your image now in Adobe Camera Raw, and then you just go on to vignette and you press OK, and as you see, now you have this vignette. Easy as that. However, if you're like, yeah, okay, this is all very nice, but I don't want to bring my JPEG into Photoshop first, I would like to open it immediately from the bridge function here. We just talked here about this little option bar, and we didn't actually talk about this Open in Camera Raw wheel. And if you just click onto that, now you see it opened up in Camera Raw. How cool is that? And if you look up here now, you have all those functions, even the cropping and the straightening, and everything is exactly the same. How you would open this image as a Camera Raw, you can also open this image now as a JPEG. So that's pretty cool. And if you don't want to go over this wheel, there's another possibility as well. You can also just go onto your right mouse click, and here you also can open this image with different modules. Here, if you click on this one, then you would just open it into Photoshop once more, but you could also just scroll down on this one here, Open in Camera Raw, and once more it's Open in Camera Raw. And the same you could also do with this image. If you don't want to double click onto it, then just use your right mouse click, and this is also how you can access this panel. And if you don't like any of those ways, there's one other way how you can access your images as well. You just go over your menu, under your file, and here you have another function for Open in Camera Raw. You can just press onto that, or you see here once more there's also a shortcut that is available if you're working from bridge. If you press onto Command or Control and R, then you will also open this image up, and you can do the same thing. If I would click now onto my JPEG, and if I go onto Command or Control and R, I can even open up this JPEG.